Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about Java's member access. Broadly there are four different types of access which are public, protected, default and private. And applying these access keywords before the members will have different functionality. And in this video we are going to discuss how the functionality changes when you apply these keywords before each member. And here the member can be a variable or a method or even a class. So let us see how, with some examples, how the functionality changes. So before we go there, let's see what are one of the important functionality of packages and classes. So we know classes acts as containers for data and code. In the similar way, packages also act as containers for classes and other subordinate packages. And both these classes and packages utilize the concept of encapsulation, which is an important concept in object-oriented programming. Utilize encapsulation for containing the namespace and also the scope of variables and methods. So to elaborate here, the using packages control the namespace, which means that you can have a same method with the same name in two different packages with a different set of functionality, and they work differently. And it also controls the scope of the variables. We know in Java we have block scope. In the same way, the variables and methods which are part of classes and packages are also scoped, contained in the classes and packages. So both classes and packages, using the concept of encapsulation, it contains the namespace and also the scope of the variables and methods. So in Java we have many levels of protection and control over the visibility of the variables and methods within classes, subclasses and packages. So by using various keywords we can control what should be given access and what should not be given access, and that would be worked across different variables, methods and classes. So let us see how applying different member access keywords before the members will allow us to protect and also control the visibility of those variables and methods. So here we have a chart which explains different sort of control. Here we have four keywords: public, protected, default and private, and there are 5 different cases, and for each of those cases we will also be seeing one example. So first case is the same class case, which means that you have variables and methods in one class and you're accessing the same inside the same class. So how does it behaves? In this case, across all keywords it is allowed, which means that irrespective of whether you use public, protected, default or private, it would be allowed within the class. Now when it comes to the second case, which is the same package and subclass, which means that we are still in the same package, but now we are not in the same class. Instead we have a subclass which inherits the main class, and this main class contains the variables and we are trying to access the variables inside the subclass. So when such is the case, although we are in the same package but we have a subclass, so the private behaves in a different way. So private is allowed when you declare a variable as private in one of the class. It can be accessed only in that particular class. Even the subclass which inherits the main class cannot access those variables which are declared in the main class. Or here the superclass. Suppose if you define some variables in the superclass, you can't access that in the subclass. Whereas if you declare a particular variable as public or protected, or if you don't give any access, then they are available for all the subclasses. So this is within the same package. So within the same package, if we have a subclass, this subclass will have access to all the variables which are preceded with a keyword like public, protected and default. But if you have a variable as private, you can't access it in the subclass. So now come to the third case, which is the same package but non-subclass, which means that you are within the same package, but the class which you have defined, the class where you are trying to access the variables, are different from where the variables are actually existing. For example, if you have a class where you have defined all the variables, and you have another class which does not inherit, which means that it is not a subclass, but you are trying to access the variables of the first class. When such is the case, if you are having, if the keyword is public, protected or default, you have the access, but if it is private, once again you are not allowed to have the access. So this is almost similar to same package subclass. Now coming to different package and subclasses. So suppose if you have two packages, say P1 and P2, and you are uh, accessing a variable which you declared in package P1 inside a class, and you are trying to access through a second package, but the second package inherits the first package class. If that is the case, then public and protected works. Even the default, which means that if you don't give any access keyword, it does not work. So default works only within the same class. Default, when I say default, it means that you are not giving any keyword. When you don't give any keyword, it is default, and you can access only within the same class. Outside a different class, you can't access it. And when it comes to private, to summarize it, it gives access only when you are in the same class, and if you are whether in a subclass in the same package, or whether you're in a different class in the same package, or the other cases, different packages, you will not be able to have the access. So default and private have this functionality. When it comes to the protected, even if it is different package, if it is a subclass, then you have the access to the variables of the superclass. Now coming to the final case, which is different package and non-subclass. Suppose if you have two packages P1 and P2, and in the P1 package, if you have a class where you define the variables, and if you are trying to access those variables from a different package and a different class, and this class is not a subclass of the class which is in P1 package, when such is the case, only if you give it as public, if the variables are explicitly mentioned as public, then you have access. If you don't mention it as public, then you don't have access to those variables in a different package. So this is a summary of each of those cases. Let's see examples for each case so that we better understand these concepts. So now I'll be going to IntelliJ IDE and I'll explain each of those cases. First, I'll try to show you here that we have two packages, P1 and P2. You can see in the left side, P1 and P2, and I have defined four classes A, B, C and demo inside package P1, and we have three classes D, E and demo inside package P2. And I'll try to show how functionality changes when you change the when you have variables of different access. So let's start in the package P1. I have the class A, so let's start with this. So here I have around 4 variables with different access. The first one is n, which has a default access. I'm not using any keyword prior to the type, so which means that it has a default access. And I have n underscore PRI, which is a private access, n underscore pro, which has a protected access, n underscore pub, which has a public access. So now I'm trying to, this is public A is a constructor, and within this constructor I am trying to print each of those variables. And since each of these we have seen just now that all variables can be irrespective of the member access keyword. If you are accessing within the same class, you don't have any problem, so we can print all the values. So when I suppose if I try to print this. So to print this, I'll be accessing through a different code. So let me just show it to you. So here we have a demo code where we are trying to create an instance of class A, and here OA is the object of class A. So I'll also comment the class B because I haven't defined. So OA is the object of class A, and this is the class A, and this whole main method is present inside the demo class, and both demo class and the class A are inside the package P1. So let us see how it behaves. So let me run this code. So when I run this code, this is the output which we get here. As you can see, it is able to provide the output for each of those cases, where irrespective of the keyword, because we are accessing within the same class. So within the same class, as we just saw, there is no problem. So as you can see here, this is the first row case. All the keywords we have yes, so there is no problem. So let us now go to the second case, which is the same class, same package, but a different class, and that class is a subclass of. So here B is a subclass. So let me just show it to you. So here B class is inheriting, is extended, B extends A, which means B is inheriting from A, and since it belongs to package P1 and both B is also belonging to package P1, we are using this syntax to actually inherit from class A to class B. Class B is the subclass of class A, and this is the constructor. And so let us now create an object inside the demo class. So I am creating an object for class B, which is named as OB. So OB is the object of class B, and this is the constructor of class B. So here I am trying to access npub, which is the public variable, n, which is the default variable, and n_pro. So we have seen earlier that if you are in the same package but subclass, which is the second case, if you are in the same package and if it is a subclass, only the private variable does not work, rest everything works. So I'm trying to print except private variable, I'm printing everything. So if you run this particular code, so what the output what we get is, so these first 4 outputs are because we have invoked the A, we created A object, and later these 4 outputs are because this B class inherits from class A, and when we invoke class B's constructor, it also invokes the class A's constructor, and class A contains all these things. So it is printing that, and later if you can see here, this is the actual output. For public, default and protected, we are getting the public value npub, which is 4, and default value n is 1, and protected variable n_pro has value 3. So 4 1 3. You can give it space so that it looks more better. So this is the output, but we did not print private. So let us see what happens if I enable this. So if I enable this, you can already see the color which is in red, which means that there is an error. You can also see here. So n_private is a private variable. So let me run it and see, so that we will understand the error, what sort of error we get it. So n_pri has a private access in p1.a. So when it is a private variable, even in the subclass you can't access it. So that is what we are learning from this example. So this is class B. So let me close this. Now let's go to the third case, which is same package and non-subclass. So this also functions similar to same package subclass. So let us take a different example. Within the same package, we are trying to we are having another class, but in this time this class does not inherit from class A. So here class C, which is inside the package P1, but we are not inheriting from class A. So when such is the case, and when you try to create the object for that, and you try to print it, so let's do that. So just to have more clarity, to reduce the space, I'm just commenting this object OA and OB, and let me run only the C object OC. So when you see here, here we have we are accessing. Let me just remove, because we don't have access to the private variable. So let me remove the b.java. So here inside the class c.java, which is class C, we have invoked, we are trying to output public variable, default variable, and also the protected variable. So when you do that, we don't get any error. So let's try to see this output. So as you can see here, we did not get any error. This got printed because C is a C constructor. So here we are trying to okay, here we created the p1.ace object, so it is trying to get the ace constructor printed, and then the actual output comes. So this is the actual output. So we are able to access public variable, default variable, and protected variable inside the another class within the same package, and this class is not inheriting the class A where the actual variables are present. So this is the third case. It functions similar, and if you remove this, and once again you will get an error. So if you can see it here inside the it's colored, and also let me just run it. So here n underscore pri has a private access, and you cannot access inside this class. So let us close this and try to see the another case, where fourth case, which is different package and subclass. So here whenever you are in a different package, when you don't give any keyword, you don't have an access, and also private also does not have access. Both public and protected have access. So let us see that case. So let me close this. Now I'll go to a different package. Here I have A, B, C and demo inside package P1. Now let me open D, which is inside package P2. So here I am trying to call D. D is a class which is extending class A, but the class D is inside package P2. So class A is inside package P1 and class D is inside package P2, and this class D is inheriting from class A. So when such is the case, we know only public and protected works. The default access and the private access does not work. So now let me invoke a different code here. So let me close this demo, and we have another demo here. So let me just call this function, call this Java class. So here we are creating the instances of instances of class D and called as OD. OD is the object of class D, and if you see here, and OE, we are not using OE now, so let me comment that. And inside D constructor, now we are creating object for class A, which is called as A1. And one of the important thing to remember is we don't access directly from A1.npub, because we can only access through its child. So that's why I'm using the keyword this. So if you use this dot npub and this dot nprotected, you can access the variables of the different class and different package. So here you can see it. Class A is from package P1, whereas class D is from package P2. So different classes, but it is D is extending from class A. So in such cases, both public and protected works, but you have to access using this keyword this. So let me just run this case and show the output, how it so if you see the output here, we have, so we can, in fact, yeah, here it is printing all these things because we have created instance of A, and therefore it is invoking the constructor. And when I am invoking D, when we are creating D object here, OD, so it is also kind of, since the D constructor includes object A1, so it is invoking the constructor of A, and it is trying to print all these things. And now our main output is this. This is the main output. We can see public and protected variables can be accessed, but the default and the private variables cannot be accessed. Here I have commented it, but if I remove this thing, we will get an error because we don't have access to default variables or the variables which does not have any access keyword, and the variables which are declared as private variables. Both are not accessible in a class which inherits, but it is in a different package. So if you are in a if two classes are in different packages, and if the one class inherits the other class, you can't access the private and the default variables. That is what is the summary we are learning from this example. So let me just comment this and show it to you, because we know private anyway we don't have access. Let me show why default also does not has access. So if you run this, we get an error because n is not public in p1.a and cannot be accessed outside package. So we are in outside package, we are in p2 package, and we can't access n. N is a default variable which is without any access modifier, without any member access. So you can't access from a different package. You can only access when you don't give any access keyword. You can access within the class, but within the package, but not outside the package. So that's why we commented this. So in the same way, private we can't access. So let us go to the final case, which is the class E, where here you are having different package and different class, and this class is not inheriting from class A. When such is the case, you only have access to npub. Even the protected you can't access. Let me just show it to you. First the output. Let me comment this D and uncomment E, and let me run this. So if you run this, you can see here E works, the public output comes, but there is no protected, because one thing is we commented it. If you uncomment it, we get an error because protected variables does not have access inside different package and which are non subclasses. So here E is not a subclass of class A. So we are not inheriting. So even the protected does not work. So protected works only until the different packages and this one of the class inside that second package inherits from class from the first package. When such is the case, protected works, but in all other cases it does not work. So you can see it when you run this, you will get an error because you can know n_pro has protected access in p1.a, and this class E is not inheriting, is not a subclass of class A, and also it is in different package. So these are the 5 cases which demonstrate the variable access from different classes, subclasses, and different packages. This is how each of those keywords, public, protected, and default and private, modify the functionality in the way we access the variables and the methods. Thank you.